Cartalk number 7. So this is going to be a relatively short video to go over the delicate topic of classroom management. I think there may be several to this series depending on how I organize my thoughts, but I think this is going to be a good overview video just to sort of capture some of my experience. So just some things about myself. I've taught in inner city urban education environments for 10 years where they are known to have classroom management issues. They've been labeled every label you can think of a school when it comes to behavior or student disrespect or you name it. Those are pretty much the schools I've taught at exclusively. And I'd say for the last 6 years or so, I've maybe had 1 or 2 referrals. Not really anything egregious problem-wise. I've kept everything in-house and sort of had a good time. Was never really personally bothered by the environment, and I feel like my classroom management skills were strong. That being said, I think that's like my, I guess you can say, credentials. I also was a mentor teacher, so I had an observable classroom that I was able to train student teachers in, I guess, in that environment, and a lot of them had very successful classrooms as well, I think, ongoing, and strong classroom management. So first of all, the first thing I just sort of talk about when I'm working with anyone with classroom management is I sort of just ask them and just help them realize is that everyone's a different teacher and a different personality. And you sort of gotta manage your classroom around your personality. I think the issue with a lot of the trainings, or at least credentialing programs or new teacher support programs, is that everyone has in their mind this one way that it needs to be done. And if that one way is not authentic and sincere to you, it's pretty garbage. If you're a bleeding heart kind soul and just a hug panda, you're not going to be able to do authoritarian and play the games that some teachers might play that I'd argue is very escalatory and unnerving for myself that they do play. And they play a stern, strong mother/father figure type role that's you escalate, I'ma escalate, and then there's gonna be this big thing at the end and I'm gonna destroy your life. I just could never do that. And that's you. Sure, there's no shame in it. It works for you, not for me. I think that it has its pros and cons, obviously. But I don't think that those cons make it the worst thing in the world. But it's something I would never do. Sort of what I'm trying to say. So, what was my philosophy? And I worked with a lot of bleeding heart Care Bears like myself. I guess I'd classify myself in that category. Who just really wanted to help kids. They wanted to be really friendly. They really wanted to make a difference. They wanted to do no harm. So I give this preface just so I just set the ground stage for my take. So I always approached classroom management on a relationship respect foundation, and I always had a few rules. So I'm gonna start with just the easy traps. Is that first and foremost, you're friendly, you're not a friend. I think that if you are a kind and nice teacher, students will start to think you're friends with them, and you joke around certain way with friends. You can be disruptive with friends. You can interrupt friends because they're your peer. And then there's being friendly, which is you're just a nice person and you're friendly and you listen to them like a human being, but there's a clear boundary that's set. And that sort of leads me to, that's number one, is you're friendly, you're not friends with any of the students. I think that's also just important on a professional level. Number two is you are the teacher, and you have a job at the end of the day to provide an education, developmental support, maybe a safe place for these youth, and that is your obligation. And that expectation should be clear. And that is your role. So we're friendly, we're not friends, and you are the teacher, and there are certain obligations which you must fulfill. And so based on that, then the next thing, number three, is the reason why you want to fulfill those obligations, and the reason you are friendly is because you're there because you care. You're there every day and doing extra work because you want to improve their lives, because you want to offer something, because you don't want school to be a waste of time for them, because you hope that they can reap the benefits of education and our collaborative effort together. So, we're friendly, we're not friends. You're a teacher, and your intention as a teacher, and the reason you're a teacher, is rooted in compassion and care and desire for successful outcomes for your students. Eyes on the prize. What is our goal? You are a goal-oriented teacher based on those outcomes as a teacher and personally that drive you. Therefore, goals are what should be the focus for the classroom in regards to guiding our actions to assure we reach those goals. Okay? And this is then where you need to find, as a teacher, what are the goals of your students? Okay? What are the goals of your students? Because if you understand what the goals of your students are, and you have a goals as a teacher, and you have goals as your expectations laid for you as a professional, those three goals, they're three independent goals, can align. And I think that the role of a teacher to manage a classroom effectively is to effectively align all three goals. Your professional expectations, your personal desired outcomes, and then the student's long-term outcomes. So, what's next? What's next is understanding that students may not have clearly understood, written out, articulated goals. You have to help them figure those out. Mentorship is what my job was the last 10 years. I was a mentor for students to help them understand, articulate, and flesh out their goals so that I could align them to my professional and personal outcomes and goals for them. That can be hard, but is necessary. So how do you help them understand their goals? How do you articulate them? Well, I did it two ways. And I had two main activities at the start of the school year I did. One was Four Corners, where I had them take a piece of paper, split it in four, put their name in the middle, and in the top left corner it said, the most important thing to me is I want to learn in physics. Education means to me, and I want to become blank in the future. And in each of those quadrants, I had them draw, color, write, and I teach physics, and fill it in. And then I always set the expectation, because you're going to have kids do this, that nothing's not an acceptable answer, because they may say education means nothing to me. Or, what do you want to be when you grow up? Or for your future, they may say, I don't know. Then you tell them you've all wanted to be something. So if there's nothing that comes to mind right now, what was the last thing? I will not accept nothing and I don't know as answers. You have to put something down. And if you still can't think through that, then I'll sit and we'll chat. And even my most shy students were eventually able to put something down on there. And then for the physics topics, I would, what you would like to learn in this class, I'd either let them research it, or I'd share a list of topics, or I'd give them something so they could figure out what they could learn, because they may not even know what my subject is. So that's helping them set expectations, like what may happen in this classroom. And then I'd have them present it. They just read it. Hello, my name is blank. The most important thing to me is blank, typically family. I want to learn about fireworks, space, rockets, and physics. Education means opportunity to me. And the most important thing, I want to become a barber when I grow up, okay? Or when I graduate. And those were posted around my classroom and sat there for the entire school year. And those were sort of like the first point of articulation of goals from the student's mindset that I then could align. And I could even show that I was aligning their preferences, because if they said they wanted to learn about rockets and physics, I'd have a lesson on rockets, and they'd see my effort to tie what they were interested in and what their goals were to my class. And then the next activity that I did was a survey. And that survey essentially was just questions about their life, who they were, what their goals were. And it was just a very detailed survey that would just help me understand the students. I'd ask them also questions like, what do you like in a class? What do you not like in a class? What do you like teachers do? How do you feel about your skills in math and writing? What type of student would you consider yourself? So just like identity, because these students all have, at this point at least, I was working with middle school and high school, they have a strong sense of identity. I'm a bad student, I'm a good student, I'm a hard worker, I'm not a hard worker, I'm very dumb in math, I'm very smart in math. And these identities are ones that you need to sort of unravel to address. And then I'd always ask them also, is there anything personal you'd like to share with me? And then before doing that, I would share obviously a personal story about myself, what got me into education, really like, rough life stories of things that I've experienced or in my family we've experienced that would relate to the students that I don't even feel comfortable posting on YouTube. And then they a lot of times would open up as well to me. Some students would be like, I don't know you, I'm not sharing anything with you. And that's okay. Sometimes they would share later on. And then I'd have a place for them to ask me questions again. So if they wanted to know more about me, then I'd spend the next day after the survey asking their questions. So this is the first week of school, essentially. I surveyed them. They did the 4 corners. We presented them. And really, it's about putting those goals out there, and then also trying to start working with students that were the I don't knows and nothing for career and what education meant to them, like helping them flush out what their goals are. And then once you have everyone's goals out, it's just a matter of you're obviously going to have your students already aligned to you. They're like, I vibe with you. You're a teacher I want to work with. And then you're going to have a group of students are going to be like, okay, I want to be a tattoo artist, a barber, blank. And I still think this class is a waste of time and I'm here. And I'm just here because I got to be here. And then that's where like your work really starts, which is taking that tattoo artist and barber and making this class tied to their goals and having the goals you have professionally and personally tied to their goals. That's not a one-size-fits-all. That's like a conversation on an individual basis on how to do that. That I spent the last 7 years mentoring student teachers on how to do. I feel like from there, the major thing that's going to come up, though, sometimes, and it's going to be real with you, is that your professional expectations may not always align with your personal goals and student goals. I feel like your student goals should always align with your personal goals as a teacher for their success, for their well-being, etc. But sometimes there's going to be some assignments and activities that just are, you just got to do them because that's what your professional expectations require of you, your professional goals. And when that's the case, just be clear and honest about it. Because once again, we're focusing on building and establishing a classroom culture established on alignment of goals and respect. Okay? So, given that's the case, I would say then that the next step for yourself is going to be just understand where that's going to happen and then be transparent. It's not because I told you so. It's like, listen up, guys and gals. You know that my goals are this, and I know that your goals are that. But for me to continue working with you on those things that are very important to us, I'm professionally obligated by my job to do these things with you, and I can't avoid them if I want to keep teaching with you, because these are the things that I know, like, we have to do for me to keep my job. And I would have no problem telling students that, yo, the stuff that we're doing, probably a waste of time, not really useful, but we got to do it because we got to do it. And I'll tell you, like, once again, we're basing everything on authenticity, honesty, and respect, so that identifying those places where there is misalignment is important. And then the next thing that is also really difficult is realizing that sometimes most of your curriculum could be misaligned and you got to reinvent a lot of the wheels and do a lot more research to make sure your curriculum and content and what you're offering, you feel good about reaching the long-term goals for the students, and that your personal and your student goals and professional goals can align as much as possible. Okay, so this is a foundational video. Maybe the next one, if I remember, I'll go over like specific behavioral situations, but I'll tell you, like, we're friendly, we're not friends. I'm the teacher and I have these expectations to go through and things I have to cover, and there's professional goals, my goals and your goals, and we're all in this together. That right there takes care of 90% of your problems once you got that on the money. The other 10%, that there's a little more trickery involved with there. But I'll go over that. Okay. If you have any questions, feel free to post, ask them away. I'll be glad to answer them. A little bit longer video than I expected, but I mean, to be honest, this is a very complicated thing, nuanced thing, especially in this definitely new age of teaching where you have your four walls to rely on, and that's it. Like, everything's inside of those, and I know it can be rough, but I think that it's very doable. And this is the way that I found it to be.